Day 11 of sharing a book from my shelf and a memory of my own as the oldest daughter of Jill and Michael Butt. I don't recall if my parents ever explicitly told me that I was supposed to be a submissive, faithful, traditional, sheltered, silent, respectful, obedient Christian woman. I do remember them encouraging me to focus on training to become a homemaker instead of graduating from homeschool high school. I remember planning out my future with a close friend, giggling about how we would both marry the same man and live on a farm in the middle of nowhere while raising a bunch of kids together. And never once thinking, this is absolutely absurd. I remember envisioning an eternity where my entire existence would consist of having baby after baby after baby after baby. I remember not ever being taught about consent or about my ability to say, no, I don't want to have sex, to a man. I remember learning that it was my responsibility to dress modestly, because if I didn't, I would basically be pornography to the men and boys around me. I remember Michael joking with my now husband and I about how we could embrace the romance of the upcoming holiday season when we announced that we were courting in November 2012. And I remember thinking that meant a proposal should be just around the corner. I remember that when we were engaged 3 days later and married 32 days after that, they didn't show an ounce of concern for how quickly we were moving, and by all appearances seemed to be fully supportive of my choice to marry young. I remember Jill telling me that sex would hurt and it would be messy, and that being the extent of my sexual education days before I got married. I remember learning, just after my wedding, that Jill was pregnant with my 9th sibling, and being under the impression that she was not on birth control and never would be because she was going to have as many kids as the Lord would give her. I remember telling Jill that my husband and I wanted to ultimately end up both working and raising our kids together, instead of me being a stay-at-home mom, and her response being, remember the family proclamation. I remember intentionally not telling Jill that I had started to use birth control for the first time, because I wasn't ready to face her inevitable rebuke. I remember that the only time I received an email from her after I chose to go no contact with both of my parents was on the Mother's Day following the birth of my child. After years of not speaking, the first thing she said to me was that children are a blessing. And every day since I chose my mental health over a relationship with most of my family, I have wondered, will it be worse for my sisters?